All right, we got Brian in New Jersey. Hello.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Brian?
I just want to say I'm a fan of your show. I've watched it a few times on YouTube, and it's great to have, atheist people speaking out about, the dogmatic religions. And I hope someday that somebody, can get a whole group and we could just wipe it off the face of the planet. I know it's a dream, but, maybe someday,
We'll see. Do you have a question? Thanks a lot, by the way.
Yeah, no problem. I would say, I was a believer for when I was younger, and because my grandmother was very Christian and my mother was very Christian as well. She taught in a Sunday school, and then I went to a Catholic school, and I was a Protestant. Now, I never understood the differences between different kind of religions, and so people were telling me, well, Protestant, you're not a real believer. They thought my version was different than Christianity or Catholic, and I never understood it. I was persecuted for that. So
you mean those Mary worshiping heathens had the gall to tell you that you weren't a true Christian?
Yeah. And this is what started to think in my head and saying that I thought there was just one version of it. If you read the Bible and you believe that story, that should be good enough for everybody, right? I mean, but why do people have to start branching out into these other religions? Well, Catholics are better than Christians and Jewish, and I just never understood it. That's what started my descent into non-belief, and then it was this other thing is watching, all these horrible things going on in the world, cancer, diseases, death, famine, and I said, if there's really a God, he's not doing a very good job at, taking care of his creation. I mean, if he created us, but he's killing us slowly but surely. If there is a God, he's not a very nice person. So that's
So
I think
the problem of evil got you. Huh?
If there is a God, he's not a very good father figure.
So the problem of evil got you, huh?
Yeah, and that's what I said. And I know people have to have a scapegoat. And they say, well, there's got to be a Satan. Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, people had to create this idea that there is a God, so they had to have an enemy and say, oh, that's all the bad things that happened because of Satan. That's it. So, in my belief, there is no God, there is no Satan, there is no anything. Why can't we just be like John Lennon said? Imagine all the world, with no religion, everybody loving themselves, peace and happiness. What's wrong with that? I don't,
I'm mostly on board.
Yeah, I think it probably wouldn't be that easy, but
yeah. So
it's great that I read these other books from great authors like Sam Harris. I don't know if you read his books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he brings up a wonderful point. It was great. He said that what if I woke up one day and had a belief that there was a diamond buried in my backyard the size of a refrigerator? Now, I have faith in this belief. And what if I wrote a book about it? Like I could write a 100-page book about it, how much this belief has changed my life, and I wouldn't want to live in a world without this belief that there's a diamond buried in my refrigerator. Now, I could keep it to myself, that'd be perfectly fine, but what if I started going out in the public town, the public square, and start preaching? You think, honestly, anybody would listen to me?
Well, if the history of Mormonism is any indication, yeah, they probably would.
You're going to find somebody to believe you no matter what you say.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have no proof of that belief. I mean, I could prove it to myself. I could get a team of excavators and gold and guys with metal detectors, and they could go over the whole part of the land and say, is a diamond buried back there? But my belief is so strong, my faith is so strong, it doesn't matter,
Yep. Did you have a question you wanted to get in real quick, Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I mean, why do you think that this religion, especially Christianity, has lasted so long? I still don't, I know people now, some people are waking up and finally seeing that it was really man-made, this idea of a God. But, I mean, why is it still holding on to certain kinds of people?
Well, you touched on one issue yourself. You basically inherit it from your parents.
Yeah, I mean, but we have free will to say, I don't want to believe this, but I think, what the thing is, Christianity has the greatest weapon of all time. It is fear.
Well,
it's not just Christianity.
Weapon.
Yeah.
It's the same for a whole variety of branches of theism, and the problem is that people are generally lazy when it comes to thinking. They're fearful, particularly of the unknown. They're uncomfortable with not having answers, and so they're more than happy to accept things that seem like answers but are really just pacifiers. And by and large, people suffer from, you know, feelings of loneliness, etc. So this idea that somewhere out there is some being who loves you regardless and who has all the answers to all the questions that you don't have answers is a really good pacifier. It sates people's curiosities and fears, and also, you know, the threat of, you know, hell and other things like that. The fear of the unknown. We don't have no idea. Nobody knows what happens after you're dead. I don't care who claims that they do. They better come up with some evidence. Nobody knows. And
nobody's ever going to know. Nobody's ever going to know what happens after you die because, you know, I mean, there's no way that we can ever even try to imagine what's going to happen. So I would just rather say, you know, people sit there and say, oh, God created the world and God did this. You know what? We're never ever going to know the real truth. I mean, let's be honest about it.
Well, I wouldn't say you can't say that.
Trying to work on it and saying, you know.
You can't say that we're never ever going to know. You're asserting that you know something that you can't know, or you don't know. We may know. We may find out answers, but you know, we don't have a time machine. We don't have any way that we can verify that, you know, people can survive their own death, and so it's very comforting to a lot of people to think that death isn't the end. The idea that there's an end to life is terrifying, despite the fact that we know, on some level, it's true.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick, too. I mean, I've seen the banana videos of Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron and the way of the master or the way of the idiots. I mean, that's what they really are, because those guys are really pathetic. I mean, you know, Ray Comfort was on a debate once, and he had asked a question. Somebody asked him a question about, you know, you say about that God created the human being and, you know, the eyes are perfectly formed and the heart. Well, what about things like cancer? And he said, well, because if you read the Bible, it says that everything in the beginning was perfect until Adam ate an apple, and that was God's excuse to say, you know what, you guys screwed up. I'm going to unleash all the bad things because of one guy eating an apple. You know, it's really, really sad. What kind of God is that?
Well,
I don't know.
You get no argument from us.
Yeah. I know.
Although I will say that
the guy was hungry, you know. Jeez, it wasn't like a McDonald's around the corner.
Yeah. All right, Brian. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys are great. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
We've got Zini in Brazil. Hello.
Yeah. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the show. I was a believer most part of my life, and since 2006 I became an atheist, and the show helped me a lot trying to understand more about atheism and see all that nonsense written in the Bible. Anyway, when I became an atheist, some relatives or friends, from time to time, they usually come to me and ask why I became an atheist. And one of the reasons that I usually give them is because this God depicted in the Bible has no morality at all. He asked their sons, let's say this way, to do horrible things in his name. Like, for example, the example that I usually give to those friends or relatives is about Abraham and how God asked him to kill his own son. And when I give this example, I usually ask, would you kill your own son if God asks you? And most of these people say no, but sometimes some friends said, well, I would because he's God and he can do anything. And I was shocked when I heard that answer. And since that day, I don't want to have any relationship with these people anymore because this is something horrible to say. And in my opinion, it's almost like if I say, well, I want to have sex with kids. This is horrible. I cannot understand someone that says something like this or someone that say that would kill his own son just because imaginary being asked him. So I was wondering if you guys had a similar issue with relatives or friends when you became an atheist, and if you have any idea why some people have such blind faith in God that are able to do horrible things in his name. What do you think about that?